Hello Northern Michigan and welcome to Retiring Well. We have a great show lined up for you today. To start off, we're going to be talking about tax strategies in retirement. Maybe how that is similar and how that is different from your working years to retirement. Then we're going to dive into what are the services that we offer here. You hear us providing information all the time and giving different insights in different industries. What are some of the things we do and how that may relate to what you're trying to accomplish? And then let's dive into risk. I want to take a deep dive and talk about maybe 10 different risks that you haven't seen before or are maybe not considering. And finally, Social Security optimization. Maybe one of the most talked about things in retirement, Social Security. What does optimization look like to you? Stay tuned. We're going to be diving into all this and much, much more here at Retiring Well.
Retiring Well, brought to you by Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial advisors, specializing in retirement planning and serving all of Northern Michigan. Retiring Well, helping you plan for a successful and comfortable retirement. Retiring Well, plan to retire well.
Tax strategies in retirement. While we're working, commonly I hear people when they have their taxes prepared or maybe talking to their accountant, they kind of brag that they got a big refund or, oh, I was able to defer this tax or write this off or something like that. So in retirement, though, now we're facing a little bit different challenge. Maybe we've deferred tax to all these years. Now we're coming to a point where likely we're going to have to pay this tax, or if we pass away, somebody else may have to pay this tax. So when we look at strategies in retirement, they're a little bit different typically than when we're working. So now you get to now you get to control your income, right? So you finally are at a point now where you get to pick what buckets you pull your money from and how much. So that's one advantage. You can control that. So you can ask yourself at that point, should I be deferring taxation or should I be realizing it in the current year? And you have to just look at tax brackets and look at your tax plan to see what that looks like. And so then also we have to ask ourselves future considerations, not only from stuffs we can't control, as example, increased taxation, change in rules or regulations, consider what may happen down the road, weighing that against what environment we're in today. As we speak today, traditionally tax rates are fairly low. So for a lot of people, realizing taxes in today's environment may be what is best for them. Not everybody, but it may be best consideration of what it could be. Some things that we can't control, like that with tax rates. Another thing is surviving spouses, or if you are married today, what would it look like if you weren't married? So a single taxpayer sort of situation. What tax brackets does that change? What about some things we can control? One, how much I'm taking, or when I'm taking it, and what if I have a bigger purchase coming up? Let's say it's a vehicle and I really want to pay cash for this, but I'm going to have to take it out of my IRA. Well, guess what? Maybe you can spread that out over time. Maybe you can take some this year and some next year. So starting to plan for those bigger purchases down the road versus just having that lump sum big expense coming all at once. So tax strategies in retirement oftentimes is not just looking at it year by year, but it's looking at 5, 10, maybe 20 or 30 years down the road to see what total tax obligations are going to be. I can't stress enough how important it is to have a tax plan in your retirement. If you fail this part and you have a sizable amount in your pre-tax accounts, you could be paying thousands more unnecessarily.
Taxes. Not many people like talking about taxes, right? But it is a topic we have to talk about and plan for. There's so many different tax strategies out there that could be very beneficial to your retirement, whether it's HSA contributions, Roth conversions, IRA extra strategies, all those things we need to talk about because they could save you so much money down the road. But what's so important is understanding your tax bracket, right? I mean, that's the name of the game.
For sure. You know, I've learned over the years that some people love analogies and some people do not. But I think this analogy I have for you might drive home the point as to why you want to be aware of your taxes. So let's pretend that your retirement vehicle is literally like a vehicle. And there's a lot of different parts to a vehicle. You're trying to get from point A to point be. Sometimes it's to get to a job to earn income. Sometimes it's to go on a vacation and have fun. And there's all kinds of different vehicles, and there's all different kinds of tires that those vehicles drive on. So if we're going to use my analogy, we're going to let tires represent taxes. What I see over and over and over again is people coming into our office and they have this beautiful retirement vehicle. It looks good. There's a lot of very functional parts to it. There's a lot of things that are good in good order, but then we look at the tires and they're completely bald. They're totally not prepared for the season. I mean, if you live in northern Michigan, you know that there's different seasons of our lives where we need different tires. Have you ever had a flat tire? What happens then? That changes your plan. It changes how you're gonna react. And so, one of the things that we do all of the time is to ensure that the precious cargo that retirement vehicle is carrying has the right tires on it, that they've been inflated. We look at that every single year, that they have the right tread on them to deal with the different seasons that might be coming your way. So if you feel like you have a tax question or a tax problem, or if you're just completely unsure of what your tax plan is, please give us a call. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to figure out how we can get the right tires on the right vehicle for you.
And coming up next, we're going to talk about all the various services that Centennial Wealth offers, and then a risk analysis as well. So stay tuned.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. Our presentation includes, is your retirement prepared for inflation? Do you know the true risk of your investments? What happens to your assets when you pass away? Do you have a tax plan? How does your income affect health insurance costs? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, March 8th at Lakeside Charlie's in Cadillac, or Thursday, March 10th at the Otsego Grand Event Center in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 today.
I'd like to share with you the different services provided by Centennial Wealth Advisory. So I've been with the company now for 17 years, and I've seen that list of services grow, and that's something that I'd like to walk through with you. So the key one that I'd like to bring up is this team approach. So when we're looking at whether it's income planning, investment planning, tax planning, estate planning, insurance planning, we have a team here at Centennial Wealth Advisory that we work together to help accomplish all those different areas. When it comes to the money management side, there's a number of different passive versus active investment strategies. So passive meaning maybe you set a certain percentage that's equities, a certain percentage that's bonds, and you just follow that path, versus maybe more of an active approach, which is one where you have different money managers that are looking at what's currently happening in the economy, currently happening in the stock market, and perhaps adjusting the portfolio, so increasing equity exposure when there's growth, and when recessions or retractions occurring, maybe they're reducing that equity exposure. What about an income plan? That's one where we're diving into what is Social Security and helping determine when to draw Social Security, maybe evaluating a different pension plan or annuities that have income streams attached to them. Maybe coming up with an idea of how to structure your investments to take withdrawals, and along with that factor in how is inflation going to impact your overall retirement. Tax planning is another key area here of looking at IRA withdrawals, what impact that's going to have on you, maybe looking at Roth conversions, how's that going to factor into your plan, as well as maybe qualified charitable distributions when you're going to be at that stage of 72 or higher and taking required minimum distributions. How are ways to maybe see some of those funds go to different charities? Insurance planning. We have a team of different licensed insurance agents that are going to assist, whether that's health insurance or life insurance or annuities, all of those different areas that come into the insurance world. So our mission here at Centennial Wealth Advisory is ultimately we don't want you to ever feel like you're on your own. There's a team here to support you and to come up with a overall retirement plan that covers all of these different areas, from income to investments to taxes, estate planning, insurance planning. All of those come together as a cohesive unit, and ultimately our mission is to help you plan to retire well.
One consistent thing in our working years, taxes. In retirement, guess what? They follow you. Taxes are going to be there in retirement. It's important to have a holistic approach that tackles this and has a plan for this. In your early years, you're in the growth and accumulation phase. You're deferring taxes in most cases, and guess what? In retirement, you turn into a distribution phase, turning that into a paycheck, and now we have to worry about taxes. Our holistic retirement planning approach includes tax planning and implementing tax reduction strategies to minimize your liability and increase your cash flow. We are well versed with ever-changing tax laws and sources of tax-free retirement. Where you put your money matters, and the earlier you take these steps to change, the better. Here at Centennial Wealth, it's important to us to not only consider your investment plan, but have a holistic approach across the board with all of your assets. Take advantage of this opportunity now while you still can. We here in our Northern Michigan offices want to sit down with you with a complimentary, no obligations visit to review your whole plan and take a deep dive into that tax plan so you can be assured that you have a solid foundation not only for today, but for the next 20 to 30 years of your retirement.
If you're retired or approaching retirement in the next 5 to 10 years, join us for an informative live event. This event is all about you, the challenges you face, and the information you need to help you build the future that you want. There's no pressure to become a client. Our goal is to simply give you valuable information that you can use to make smarter financial decisions. We hope that by the time you leave this event, you'll be one step closer to your retirement goals.
Let's take a few minutes and talk about risk. I know we talk about that quite often, and you know by now that we offer risk assessments here at the office. So we can take a portfolio and digest the risk of that and talk about that. I want to take a little bit of a different look at this today though. Oftentimes we just talk about equity risk, risk of being in the stock market and of its ups and downs of what if the market went down a certain percentage, where would that leave you? That's still a huge piece of that. But I want to give you 10 other risks today that we look at on an ongoing basis that maybe you're not considering. 1, interest rate risk. Very important today with low rate environment. When you're looking at this, what if your investment is renewing at a different interest rate down the road? It can sometimes alter the underlying value as well. Currency risk. When you look at this, the appreciation or depreciation of a specific currency that control depending upon where you're invested. Exchange rates, think of that. Liquidity risk. What if the investment you're in, you can't readily get it to cash in a time of need? Concentration risk. What if you have all of your stuff in one basket or very similar stuff? What would that look like? Credit risk. This is particularly pertaining to investments that have a credit rating to them. What if it changed after you invested something, where they maybe went south in a way, So credit ratings, what does that have to do with that? And then reinvestment risk. You know, what if you're trying to reinvest in stuff continuously and either that investment changes or the opportunity isn't as good when you go to reinvest? Inflation risk. This is a real thing today, right? What if the investment you're in keeping up with inflation? Is it controlled by inflation in one way or another? Horizon risk. What if the timeline or your line in the sand down the road changes? What if you need this money sooner? Okay, in often cases, what if you were forced into early retirement and the investments you were in didn't account for that? Longevity risk, the idea of outliving your money. What if you lived a really long time? Are your investments prepared for that? And finally, foreign investment risk. Obviously, what if the rules or regulations change if you were invested internationally and either A, getting the money back, or some rules change that cause that investment to not be as profitable? So those are 10 risks out there that aren't commonly talked about as much as market risk, that are things that we have to be considering, especially in today's environment. You know, when you're planning for your retirement and you're putting all this on the line for 20 to 30 years of your retirement, we need to be looking at this. Take the time, analyze your portfolios, and understands not just the market risk you have, but the other risks that are weighing against this. You don't want to be surprised at some point down the road if things change and you don't have that. Trust me, I know that there's a lot of folks out there, their biggest worry at night is running out of money. You know what? When we can look at these, let's try to take some of that guessing out of it so you can have a good holistic plan to make sure that your retirement is planned well.
Hey, welcome back. You know, I love that we get to educate you on all the different services that we provide. When people ask me, they say, hey, what do you do? Pretty much my first response is, I'm kind of like a financial organizer. You know, I'm going to give you a quick little story of a recent client and kind of walk you through all the different things that we were able to help with. They came in, one spouse was retired, the other one was about to retire, and that's about as far as they had gotten. And so we said, all right, well, let's build out this income plan. Let's figure out what your retirement income is going to be. Let's figure out the different sources of those retirement incomes. That led us to Social Security, and they said, well, we have one that we think we're going to start and one that we think we're going to delay. Well, we actually helped. All right, well, let's start that one Social Security. Let's look at your specific Social Security analysis to see how we're going to maximize that. And so we're going to defer the other one for a few more months here. That led us on to the next part of their plan, which was health care. And so they were going to be starting Medicare, and they were asking about all the different supplemental plans and advantage plans, and we were able to walk through, teach them, here's the pros and cons of all of that. Actually got them helped up, signed up for their health plan, and got that in place for them. They were asking about their tax situation. We said, well, we happen to do taxes and we do a ton of tax planning. And so we built out a tax plan for not just this year, for every single year that we're going to be in a relationship with them. We're going to be doing those tax planning or filing those taxes. And then we finalized their experience with us with an estate plan. You know, they're in a situation where they had some special needs that they had to take care of. And so we said, we need to put in place this trust for them. But we were able to bring on the lawyers to make sure that that was all in good order.
Yeah, I mean, we offer that holistic approach. Yes. It's not just the investment side of things. I mean, that's an important side, but it's looking at the entire retirement picture. I know the guys also talked about risk analysis in there. That's another area that you need to be well aware of, is understanding how much risk you're actually taking. Funny story, I was just out skiing with my 5-year-old a couple weeks back at a local resort in Gaylord, and this was his first time. So we headed over to the Bunny Hill, and he got confident pretty quickly that he could go onto the big boy hills, right? So we're going up the chairlift, and he sees some of the older kids going off a jump. And as we get closer and closer, I can see it in his eye. He wants to do what those kids are doing, right? Well, come to find out, as we get almost right over the jump, he notices that one of the kids biffs, okay, takes a spill, and he realizes that that's probably not what he wants to do. Fortunately, the kid seemed to be like he was okay, so he got right up. But What Noah didn't realize was how much risk he was actually taking by, or could be taking by going over that jump until he saw somebody take a spill. And that's the same thing with your retirement account. You want to make sure that you understand how much risk you're actually taking. So hopefully you found that very valuable. Stay tuned. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Social Security optimization.
Every success story starts with a plan. The success of your retirement depends on a solid financial plan. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, we invite you to an informative live event to help you plan to retire well. There is no cost and no obligation, and dinner is on us. We are Centennial Wealth Advisory, financial professionals, specializing in retirement planning, serving all of northern Michigan, with offices in Traverse City, Cadillac, Petoskey, and Gaylord. Our presentation includes, is your retirement prepared for inflation? Do you know the true risk of your investments? What happens to your assets when you pass away? Do you have a tax plan? How does your income affect health insurance costs? And much more. Call 888-608-5825 to register and choose the date and location that works best for you. Tuesday, March 8th at Lakeside Charlie's in Cadillac, or Thursday, March 10th at the Otsego Grand Event Center in Gaylord. The live event starts at 6 p.m. and is free to attend with a complimentary gourmet dinner to follow, but seating is limited and tends to fill quickly. Call 888-608-5825 to reserve your seats today. Don't miss this important live event to help you plan to retire well. Call 888-608-5825 today.
Your grandchildren are precious to you. They are your life. This is your time to have that special relationship. Taking care of yourself is taking care of them. Centennial Wealth Advisory is offering a free, no-obligation retirement review to make sure you don't run out of money during your retirement. Centennial Wealth Advisory. Your best is yet to come.
At Centennial Wealth Advisory, we take a holistic approach to your retirement planning. So it's not just looking at what your investments are, but what is that long-term income plan for the next 30, 40 years of your retirement? What about taxes and what role they play in your retirement plan? Estate planning, what about life insurance, health insurance planning, all key areas to consider when looking at your retirement. So please visit our website or call the number on the screen. We'd love the opportunity to sit down with you for a no-cost, no-obligation visit. Looking forward to sharing with you about Social Security optimization. So what are the ways that you can ultimately maximize Social Security for your benefit? So there's different tools that we have available to us where we need to understand sort of what your full retirement age benefit looks like, and ultimately then what that number is, what age you think you may be retiring and wanting to draw that, and then ultimately the sad part of this is knowing when do you anticipate dying. Obviously that's something nobody knows, but in order to run these projections and calculate your cumulative benefits over time, those are different pieces of information that are needed to plug into the system. So maybe it's starting at age 62, or maybe you wait until age 70. You'll see on your benefits that between that time frame they double if you delay your Social Security benefits till age 70. But again, what's going to be the best option for you? That's going to vary. In order to calculate these different comparison, again, it comes back to how long are you going to live? A lot of times people will say, well, my parents lived to this age, or grandparents, and we found that a general rule is about 1/3 of that may come into play, but about 2/3 of that is ultimately going to be your retirement lifestyle. And so what your health looks like, and you know, are you staying active, staying fit and everything throughout your years. Some of the other things that you'll want to be factoring into Social Security optimization is, are you still working? Is it something where I've seen a lot of folks where they maybe retire from the career that they had, and now they're maybe working somewhere part-time in those years, maybe from in their 60s upwards to mid-60s or maybe 70 years old. So what does that look like? Are you retired, but maybe you're wanting to delay Social Security? So in the meantime, where are you going to draw income from? Because again, you need to cover the costs of living during that time frame. And what does that do? Because you want to be very careful not to draw down all of those different retirement assets in order to build up your Social Security cash flow. So again, with Social Security, there's a lot of different pieces, and it's just one piece of your overall retirement income plan. And so that's where we'd encourage you to give us a call. We'd love to sit down with you for no cost, no obligation visit, just to better understand, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? What are those goals that you have, and how is Social Security ultimately going to play a role in your retirement income?
Optimizing Social Security is a top concern of many retirees. A big question when they come into the office is, when should I take Social Security, right? And I know the guys talked about, well, when do you think you're going to die, right? That's the question that we don't have the answer. But there's things that we can do to plan to optimize your Social Security. We have an awesome software program that we can put in the numbers and say, okay, at 62, if you take Social Security, this is what retirement look like. Or at age 65, if you take Social Security, this is what your retirement could look like, and so forth. So we can paint that picture for you so you understand, hey, if I live past age 80, it's in my best interest to wait as long as possible, and so forth. There's so many different scenarios that we can run for you, but really at the end of the day, we can show you these numbers. It comes down to personal preference. I've had numerous conversations with clients where I show them the numbers, I say, hey, you know what, it's going to make the most sense if you wait until full retirement age. But they want to take it right when they get it. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as the numbers add up.
I appreciate that, Nick. And one of the things that we get to do is help educate. I recently came across a situation where a potential client said that had gone through a divorce and but had been married for more than 10 years. And so we kind of walked through that. We said, do you know there might be some potential situations we want to definitely be aware of when it comes to your Social Security and all the different options. There's some pretty crazy numbers if you ever want to look up how many different ways there is to take Social Security as a single or as a married couple. There's a lot. And so if you're at all wondering, well, I might be in one of these situations, maybe you had a spouse that has, had passed away. Well, it just creates a whole nother set of options that might make sense for you to take. So I just want to thank you for watching our show. We love that we get to teach. We love that we get to learn about what you're trying to accomplish and then figure out how we can best strategize to help you plan to retire well. So enjoy your week. We'll see you next week. Tune in, same time, same place.